Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating economic and, honestly, technological shifts happening in Europe right now. We're talking about Italy's booming enterprise AI landscape in the year 2026. Now, Italy has always had this incredibly deep, globally respected manufacturing economy, right? Built on a world-class engineering heritage. But for a long time, it kind of sat well behind its peers when it came to actually adopting enterprise AI. Well, scratch that. That narrative is completely obsolete today. We're going to break down exactly how this market is just exploding, the unique constraints builders are facing on the ground, and most importantly, we'll look closely at the top 5 companies that are successfully shipping agentic systems into real live Italian production environments.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. First up, we'll cover Italy's macro AI growth and the specific bottlenecks slowing things down. Then, we're going to segment our top 5 vendors by their engineering approaches. We'll look at fast MVPs, then rigorous enterprise scale, and finally, native language and data readiness. We'll wrap it all up with a quick recap to help you find your exact fit.
So, starting with Section 1, Italy's AI growth and bottlenecks. Let's look at the macroeconomic narrative here and see exactly how Italy went from a traditional manufacturing stronghold to experiencing this sudden massive acceleration in enterprise AI. Just to put this into perspective, look at the sheer scale of this shift. Back in 2022, the enterprise value of Italian AI companies was sitting at about 4.3 billion US dollars. Fast forward to 2026, that number has literally doubled to 8.6 billion. I mean, this isn't just your standard organic growth, it's rocket fuel. And this surge is heavily backed by European PNRR funding and Italy's own Transition 5.0 plan. They are channeling billions directly into industrial digital innovation. So the capital is definitely there, the intent is there, and enterprise demand is at an absolute all-time high.
But, here's where it gets a little complicated. If the money and the demand are there, why aren't we seeing even more deployments? Well, it boils down to 2 very specific bottlenecks that are essentially killing Italian agent projects that would easily ship anywhere else. First, there's the EU AI Act. Too many generalist vendors treat compliance like a post-spill legal review, rather than what it actually needs to be, a core architecture decision from day one. You simply can't run a risk classification against a moving, chaotic design. And second, the language constraint. A lot of foreign vendors just slap a basic translation layer over a system originally built for English. In a real enterprise environment, that just doesn't work. True native Italian understanding has to be a foundational requirement, not just a quick afterthought.
That brings us to Section 2, Fast MVP and Audit-Ready. We are looking at the builders who are actually solving these exact constraints on the ground, starting with the mid-market speed segment and our very first company, DBB Software. DBB Software is driven by this really fascinating core philosophy. AI accelerates the work, the architect governs the outcome. Basically, they focus on building AI agents and autonomous workflows for Italy and the wider European market using AI-assisted software development. We're talking about leveraging heavy-hitting tools like OpenAI Codex, Google Gemini, Claude Code, and AWS Hero to dramatically compress their build cycles. But, and this is key, they don't just let the AI run wild. Senior architects own every single technical decision. So the AI gives you the raw speed, but human architectural discipline provides the absolute safety and compliance. Let's move to and see how this builds out into a highly specific execution plan. They have a fixed 30-day path to a live MVP. It works like this. Every single engagement kicks off with a 2 to 3 week discovery sprint run by 2 senior engineers and a solution architect, starting from a fixed scope of just $1,777. And remember that EU AI Act bottleneck we just talked about? Their scope and design document actually solves it by giving you a static, locked-in design to run your risk classification against. From there, they move straight into a 1-week proof of concept, deploying about 30% of the product. Finally, they dedicate 1 month to building the remaining 70%. The big takeaway here, you get a working, compliant agent in production within a single quarter. Now, if you're wondering if this rapid model actually works, the proof points are honestly staggering. In the retail space, which maps perfectly to Italian fashion and e-commerce, DBB built Renovai's AI design assistant. That drove a 16% jump in conversion and a massive 30% growth in revenue. For marketplace complexity, they built a Books Dice platform, handling multiple payment and logistics APIs, scaling to $4 million in gross merchandise value and over 450,000 active users. They even built LegalFly's multi-jurisdiction legal scraper. But crucially for the European market, DBB is ISO 27001 certified, independently audited in 2026, and they provide EU jurisdiction delivery with a 1-hour incident response. Seriously, if we're a mid-market operator who needs an audit-ready product live in 3 months, this is for sure your vendor. All right, on to Section 3, enterprise scale and rigorous engineering. We are leaving mid-market speed behind now and stepping into the real heavyweights of the Borsa Italia. Here we're looking at a direct comparison of two massive homegrown players, Reply and TXT eSolutions. Let's look at Reply first. They are literally Italy's largest homegrown digital transformation consultancy, operating all across Milan, Turin, and the broader EU. They have these highly specialized business units covering banking, manufacturing, telco, you name it. If you're a massive enterprise running a multi-year transformation program, Reply's listed company governance gives you the exact institutional credibility your procurement team is going to demand. On the flip side, we have TXT eSolutions. This is such a fascinating company because they apply literal aerospace-grade engineering discipline to their AI agents. With decades of experience in defense, aerospace, and core banking, their recent growth is driven by genuine AI revenue, not just some clever marketing pivot. When the stakes are defense-level high, their strict quality standards translate directly into rock-solid production reliability. Ultimately, both of these giants offer the profound public accountability that large-scale Italian procurements absolutely require.
Moving right along to Section 4, native language and data readiness. We're stepping away from generalist transformation now and zooming in on two highly specialized companies tackling those cultural and structural constraints, Indigo.ai and Datrix. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this fundamental cultural distinction, lay versus to, the formal versus the informal you. This brings us to Indigo.ai, a Milan-founded specialist in conversational AI. Look, generalist vendors outside of Italy consistently underestimate how critical register precision really is. If an AI agent uses the wrong tone with a banking client versus, say, a retail shopper, it immediately signals that the system was built somewhere else. It completely shatters trust. Indigo.ai brings native Italian natural language processing expertise to the table. For any customer-facing deployment, their mastery of this sector-appropriate tone is literally the difference between a commercially credible agent and a failed experiment. Because in this market, language quality dictates trust.
And that brings us to an absolute truth when it comes to Italian AI deployment. Data readiness, not model capability, is the bottleneck. This is essentially the mantra of Datrix, a company listed on the Euronext Growth Milan. Datrix sits perfectly right at the intersection of data engineering and applied AI. You know, so many mid-market Italian enterprises want to deploy these cool agentic systems, but their internal data is just a disorganized mess. The AI model isn't the problem, the data infrastructure is. Datrix comes in, rolls up their sleeves, and resolves that data foundation alongside the agent deployment, getting you totally unblocked. Plus, being a listed company gives procurement teams that essential financial transparency before they commit.
Okay, Section 5, Top 5 Quick Recap. We have covered a whole lot of ground today, so let's bring all these profiles together into a clear, actionable decision-making matrix.
So the crucial point is this. Success isn't about finding the objectively best AI company out there. It's about finding the exact right fit for your specific operational gap. Let's do a quick recap. If you are a mid-market operator who needs a working audit-ready MVP deployed in a single quarter, you want DBB Software. Are you a massive enterprise running a comprehensive digital transformation program? Lean on Reply. Operating in high-stakes fields like aerospace, defense, or banking, where rigorous engineering is just non-negotiable, TXT eSolutions is your partner. If your agents are customer-facing and your commercial credibility hinges on perfect native Italian phrasing, you absolutely need Indigo.ai. And finally, if your AI dreams are being blocked by a messy data foundation, Datrix is going to solve your infrastructure and deployment in one go.
Which brings us to our conclusion and really the single most important question you need to ask yourself today. Which of these operational gaps does your organization actually need closed? You just can't ignore the unique constraints of the Italian market anymore. Treating the EU AI Act as an afterthought is going to stall your project. Relying on a cheap translation layer for the Italian language will destroy customer trust. The capital is there, the market is literally doubling in value, and the tools are incredibly powerful. The only thing left to decide is what is truly holding you back and which of these 5 builders you're going to call to break through that bottleneck. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you navigate Italy's 2026 enterprise AI landscape with absolute clarity.